This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too.
You might have seen these videos over the past few days.
Now with the Russians marching in, it's changed the calculus entirely. Tens of thousands of people have tried to flee the city. There will be many more. People are hiding out in bomb shelters. But this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too.
I'm sorry, it's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
Bluntly, these are not refugees from Syria. These are refugees from neighboring Ukraine.
And this is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe.
Looking at them, the way they're dressed, these are prosperous, I'm loath to use the expression, these are prosperous middle-class people. These are not obviously refugees trying to get away from areas in the Middle East.
Across media outlets and throughout the world, reporters have been nothing short of racist when describing the Ukrainian refugees fleeing violence because of Russia's invasion. These comments, while maybe are coming in good faith, are designed to invoke pity for Ukrainians. And I get that. You look at the footage of people fleeing violence and what they're subject to in Ukraine, and I understand, yes, I want to be sympathetic with them. But then you dig a little bit deeper into what these reporters are saying, and then juxtapose it with how they've described refugees from Middle Eastern countries, and it's nothing short of racist. Let's break a couple of these clips. Start with this clip from a Ukrainian official.
I'm sorry, it's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles and his helicopters and his rockets.
And so, of course, I understand and respect the emotion. What you are outlining there is this tension between longer-term efforts to apply pressure to Vladimir Putin, such as financial sanctions, and the very immediate military threat which you're experiencing.
In it, he describes how seeing footage of blonde hair, blue-eyed Ukrainian kids being killed makes him very emotional. And on its surface, yes, I get that. You should too. On its face, that makes sense. Nobody wants to see innocent people, let alone innocent kids, being killed in war. But what's so troubling about this is the description itself and what it represents. He's describing are white. You can tell by the description. And these types of comments, like the ones we saw in all of the other clips, are designed to invoke pity from white people. And it's working. Look around you. Look on social media. You're flooded with Ukrainian flags, pro-Ukrainian messages, and people showing an outpouring of support for people of Ukraine. And that's a stark contrast, especially in the West. Ukrainian refugees, they're just refugees. The thing is, when you're forced out of your home, and in many cases forced to leave the country out of fear of violence, you're a refugee. That's just the universal standard. But when they're brown or black, they're described as migrants, which invokes a slightly different emotion. And you might be asking yourself, why do I know what this guy thinks? Who is he? Why is he the authority on what's racist and what's not? And it's tough. It's tough to understand, and I might not be the best person to talk about it. So I asked people who are directly affected by this or spend their entire career studying this to weigh in. AJ Plus host Sana Said told me there's shock and awe among the white media pundits, anchors, reporters, and politicians that those who fall under the vague umbrella white Eastern Europeans who have long been denigrated and experienced anti-Slavic racism from Western Europe are being victimized by a war. Euro-Americans are used to creating and thus only seeing black and brown refugees from Asia, Africa, South and Central America. But none of that is real until it hits Europe. That's what we're being told in the media. It's also not just about whiteness, which is the kin relation point of reference for many white Americans and Europeans, certainly, but it's still not enough to understand the coverage, because Russians are white-looking too. This is about perceived civilizational and ideological fault lines. Who is on our side versus who isn't? The media has fallen lockstep in that narrative while dehumanizing victims of Euro-American military and economic aggression.
They can just shut the fuck up and obey, is my view.
How could you salvage Iraq at this point?
It's beyond our control. If somehow the Iraqis decided to behave like human beings or something. He'd need to say, look, I'm a bigot, okay? I'm a bigot. I don't like Islamic extremists. Like, if you are really heavily into Islam, I'm sorry, I don't care for you that much. And I don't care what that sounds like. You can call me a racist. You can call me whatever you want.
And at this juncture, you could say that and not catch a lot of shit for it.
You certainly could. I'd vote for you if you said that.
And when I talked to Michael Hayden at the Southern Poverty Law Center, who specifically tracks right-wing extremists, he pointed to Tucker as someone who would face zero professional consequences for saying such a heinous thing. Long before the U.S. started wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, many Western pundits struggled to see lives from the Middle East, Asia, or Africa as being of equal value to white lives. It's demonstrably enabled what we came to call the War on Terror, as well as the low-effort, local dehumanization of so many working people who had absolutely nothing to do with terrorism. Look no further than Tucker Carlson, who referred to Iraqi people as semi-literate, primitive monkeys, for a read on how easy it is to get away with dehumanizing Arabs or Muslims and maintain a career. It's arguably the most mainstream form of hate, which is why some of these reporters seem to say these things unconsciously. It's actually quite revealing for me when they do. Chris Hedges wrote, "We embrace gross and overtly racist notions of Islam that paint all Muslims as having a tendency to violence, anger, anti-modernism, and close-mindedness, questioning of the nationalist line, or an attempt to address historical injustices committed by us against our foes is branded unpatriotic, intellectual treason." Holt told me, reporters and commentators remarking on war between civilized countries are laying bare an unfortunate and enduring feature of many Western conceptions of the world beyond itself: contempt. The words we choose to describe conflict matter. Nations and regions that are less developed socially and economically are not more or less deserving of the horrors of war. If the language used in prior conflicts feels inappropriate when applied to a conflict in one's proverbial own backyard, then it begs questioning whether it was ever appropriate to begin with.
Thanks for watching this free clip of Rebel Headquarters. Don't forget to become a TYT member today for more exclusive content. Join now at tyt.com/join.